Well, hello, everybody. I think that we are live. My system has changed a little bit since the last time I did this, so I'm took a little bit too long to get on, but hopefully we are now working and you guys are going to be able to hop on. I think that I was able to get this going to our YouTube channel and to Stream's Facebook channel as well as my Facebook channel. So as you guys are hopping on, please go ahead and put into the comments where you are from, and we'll start doing a couple shout outs, and then we're going to jump into some dream interpretation. So first, welcome. If you're able to join us live, that's amazing. For those of you that are watching this afterwards, welcome. Glad you're able to watch it. I know that watching this afterwards, you're not going to be able to submit dreams for interpretation, but you're going to get to hear some dreams being interpreted. Well, hopefully, we'll see if we get any interpretations, but you'll get to see some dreams being interpreted and you'll be able to watch the process as we're doing this. We have been pressing into dream interpretation for a number of years. Those of you that are new to Streams Ministries, I've been interpreting dreams for almost 20 years, and we have trainings that were created almost 30 years ago by John Paul Jackson that have taught us a lot about dream interpretation. And as we continue to study scripture and the ways of God and looking into dream interpretation, we keep on learning more and growing. And as we are ministering to our fellow brothers and sisters and ministering to people around the world, people that don't even know him yet, we have learned a lot about dream interpretation, and we try to bring that to bear so that we can equip the body of Christ to be able to hear God better. That's the reason why streams exist, is to help people hear God better. And one of the ways that we do that is by teaching and training on dream interpretation. So if you are not familiar with some of that training, we have an online classroom on our website, streamsministries.com. If you look for the online classroom, it's one of the first prompts. You'll be able to see it pretty easily. And on there are a number of dream interpretation courses. And we've also developed our Streams Academy for those of you that want to learn in a community kind of based environment, be able to have interactions with teachers, interactions with other students. We have that available in our Streams Academy. And we're starting, before too long, we're going to be starting module 4, which is types of revelation and dreams. We're going to start that process. And then the next module, module 5, is going to be on interpreting dreams and visions. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to learn and for you to grow if you're interested in that. And then obviously we have our YouTube channel. If you're not already on that YouTube channel, make sure that you check it out and subscribe, hit that little notification button, and you'll find out whenever we put out new material. But we have a bunch of free resources on dream interpretation, understanding biblical dreams, and we're trying to do our best to get this into the hands of people and make sure that we are being faithful with what we've been given, giving it to the next generation. So we are looking at some of our people coming in. We've got Toronto, we've got Georgia, we have Alabama, we've got Germany. Welcome. I'm going to be in Germany in October. We're doing a conference in Limburg in October. I think it's the first weekend of October. We'll be doing that. There's information on our website, so maybe I'll see you there. That would be amazing. We've got Buckinghamshire, UK. Welcome. Michigan, Iowa. Well, Sheila, welcome. Glad you were able to join us from Michigan. That's awesome. Let's take a look at some of these dreams. Let's see. We got Tallahassee, Florida. We've got Brazil. We've got California. We've got Spain. Amazing. Well, here is a dream. Alinga put this in the back seat of my car. A guy was going to drive. I couldn't see him fully, but he was a friend. Suddenly, it's pouring rain. A tornado gently lifted my car. On descent, was scared and yelled, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Okay, so you've got a couple fun things that are in here. When you're in a car, it's usually talking about, if it's your car, and you said in a backseat of your car, so this is talking about your car. You usually talk about something you're doing. It's your spiritual life, maybe your ministry, maybe your workplace. It's how you're getting from where you're at to the next place. There's some type of movement that's going on, and the car talks about how you're moving forward in life. So that is the concept of a car. Now, there's a difference between being in the back seat of the car versus being in the driver's seat of the car. If you're the driver's seat, you're in control. Well, depending on the dream, sometimes you can be in the driver's seat and you're not in control. But in general, the idea of the driver's seat is the person that's steering, the person that is controlling the acceleration of the braking. But when you're in the back seat, you're not in control. Someone else is in control. And you see it's a guy who was going to drive. You knew he was a friend, but you couldn't see him fully. Now, one of the questions that I wonder is if you knew who it was in the dream. If you knew who it was in the dream, it is possible that their name might have some meaning. But this seems to be usually when you can't see someone fully, but you kind of know that person, it's usually some type of an angelic being. So this could be the Lord. This could be an angelic being of some kind, that someone else is driving, someone else is taking you place. Now, it's suddenly pouring rain. Rain can be positive and rain can be negative. This doesn't actually seem like necessarily a negative thing. It seems like it's more of a positive thing. So pouring rain in the positive could talk about refreshing from the Lord. It could talk about spiritual release, a downpour from heaven, the rain of the Spirit. We have that famous song, Let It Rain, Let It Rain, where we're asking for the presence of the Lord to fall, to come and to overwhelm us. And then a tornado gently lifted your car. Now, that gently is what I'm grabbing onto, because there's a difference between it suddenly got really dark and my car was jerked into the air and I'm spinning everywhere. That would mean one thing, but it's getting gently lifted into the air. Now, the idea of a tornado, it's a wind that spins. And that also is a biblical picture. In Ezekiel chapter 1, Ezekiel sees a whirlwind, a tornado, a swirling wind that's coming out of the north. And it was actually the presence of the Lord. It was spiritual activity. So a tornado can represent spiritual activity. It can also represent a destructive force. And so you want to look at the context of the dream. If it was more scary, if it was more violent, if there was those kinds of things that were happening, you might go, this is a little bit more destructive. But gently being lifted, it seems like this is actually more spiritual activity. So there's going to be some overwhelming spiritual activity, the reign of the Spirit, and then the move of the Spirit that's going to lift you up and take you places that you're not expecting. And it's actually going to be a little bit scary, not in the negative sense of scary, but you're probably going to feel some kind of fear when this goes on, because when God does this, you are not in control. This is something where he's taking over and he's in control of this. And the right response is to continue to cry out to the Lord. This is the right response, which is exactly what you do in the dream. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. That fear causes you to rely on him. And when you recognize that what God is doing in your life is beyond your ability to control it, that he's causing things to happen that are beyond you and above you, it actually should create that healthy fear. There's an excitement too, but a healthy fear that causes us to call out to him and rely on him. So that is a really fun dream. That is great. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we have a question about a dream element. Those of you that are not familiar, we have a Dream Elements book that we put out trying to help people to think through dream elements and what they might mean. And so kind of like what I just did with that last dream interpretation, where I was explaining, well, this is what it might mean, and this is how it might change in different dreams, and trying to help you to think about the metaphor. We did that in the Dream Elements book, but hippo was not one of the elements that we put into that book. We're actually collecting some of the elements that we didn't get in the book. We've been talking about maybe coming back and doing some more dream element videos, which we've got a number of those on our YouTube channel. So maybe we'll do one with hippo. We'll see if we can get that into the list when we're ready to film those. So now let's talk about what a hippo might represent. So thinking about a hippo, you've got a couple different things. One, hippos are most comfortable in the river, in the water. They're river creatures, and rivers can represent the move of God, the river of the Spirit. So it's possible that, because a hippo in the water, they're one of the most graceful creatures that there are. Now, when they're not in the water, they're not very graceful. So it could represent someone that in the spirit, that there's a grace and a flow, but they're not as comfortable just in their natural life or natural environments, in environments that are not full of the Spirit. That's one thing it could represent. Hippos are also the most dangerous of the animals, the what they call the big five in Africa, which are the five main animals that kill humans. It's not a good thing to think about, but it is a reality. But hippos are actually the most dangerous of them all. And it's because people don't expect them, and because they're very, very territorial. So they will, if you get between the hippo and the water, if you get between a hippo and its child, that's a very, very dangerous place. And they can burst speed very quickly. They can move in short amounts. They can move very quickly. They don't have a lot of endurance, but they can get moving really fast. So a hippo could also represent a territorial spirit, something that is that seems like it's not that dangerous, but when the territory gets crossed, it ends up being a lot more dangerous than what was expected. So that's the other thing about a hippo. I haven't run into hippos as a dream element too terribly much. So one of those would be more positive, one of those would be more negative. Here's something else about a hippo. A hippopotamus has a huge mouth. Now, the mouth don't have really sharp teeth, but the strength of that mouth is significant. And that there's something about the mouth. So that could talk about somebody that is gossiping, somebody that is talking about someone that is backbiting. That could also be one of the elements. Generally, when it's talking about gossip and slander, it's more often a crocodile or an alligator that is used in a dream, but not exclusively. So hippo, that's another thing that a hippo could be used to represent in a dream. So the context of the dream really tells you what to do with it. Whenever you have someone that's trying to tell you what a dream element means, and it doesn't matter what the context of the dream is, they probably don't fully understand the elements of the dream, because the dream itself gives it meaning. Things get their meaning out of the context that they're found in. So that's an important piece. So thinking about that, what that might represent in the particular dream that you had, that'll give you some ways that you can begin to pray and ask the Lord what that actually means in your dream. Well, let's take a look at Tanya's dream. So Tanya, I was flying on top of a silver bullet. People were watching below. It was so loud, I had to cover one ear and hold on to dear life with my other hand. The speed and the force was so uncomfortable. Okay, silver bullet. We use that phrase. I mean, there's a little bit of mythology that gets involved in, but it gets used very popularly as the idea of the kind of the final thing, like this will kill anything. The silver bullet, it takes a silver bullet and to kill vampires, werewolves, like certain things like that, to defeat evil. evil things in that dynamic. So there's a little bit of that mythology, but we use the phrase just more generally just to mean, oh, that's the silver bullet. Like this thing, it's going to work. So that's one possibility of that meaning. Now, you're flying on top of a silver bullet. That's an interesting place. I mean, one, it's a huge bullet, so you're not using the silver bullet, so it's not your silver bullet. So I'm I'm thinking and I'm praying at the same time. When it comes to dream interpretation, if you only figure it out in your head, you do not have a good dream interpretation. It requires both the understanding as well as the revelation. They've got to work together for us to come to a good understanding of our dreams. And so that's what I'm trying to think through. So I'm thinking about different possibilities, and while I'm thinking about them, I'm asking Holy Spirit, Lord, is that what it is, or is that what it is, or is that what it is? And so some of the possibilities that I was thinking about is the idea of a silver bullet. One, silver can represent sorry, yeah, I almost said transportation. I was thinking of a bullet train, but that's not. Let me get my thoughts clear before I let them come out of my mouth. It makes a lot more sense to the people that are listening. So, silver can talk about redemption. Just the price of redemption. In the law of Moses, you'd redeem things by the 30 pieces of silver or purchases of silver. The idea of silver being redemption, the price of redemption, is a theme that's in Scripture. So silver can sometimes talk about redemption, something being redeemed. A bullet talks about authority because it's coming out of a gun, it's moving with power, it's moving in a particular direction, it's happening very quickly. So you've got those two things. Now, just this picture, when I'm reading your dream, I'm having a hard time just picturing you on top of a bullet, like a bullet coming out of a gun. I keep on wondering, like, what was this silver bullet? Was this, like there seems to be more of a question, and there's something that's causing the noise. What would cause the noise? Is there an engine that's there? Why is there so much noise? But you've got a couple different things. One, it seems to not be a negative thing, even though it's difficult. Just simply because silver is generally a good thing. When silver is negative, it can talk about idolatry. Doesn't seem to fit. That doesn't feel right. Like I'm not feeling the yes that's on that. So I don't want to go in that direction. But something that has propelled you and moving you forward, and it's really uncomfortable. It's fast, it's quick. People are recognizing what's going on. And as I said that, I just had this thought go through my head. So I'm just going to go with it. And I'm trusting that this is revelation. The process of redemption in your life, while there's areas that have already been redeemed, there's something that God is in the process of redeeming in your life, and it's not a comfortable experience. Things are going to be moving quickly. People are going to recognize and notice what it is that God is doing, but it's going to end a season of darkness that's been affecting you. It's going to bring an end. So in the midst of it, it feels uncomfortable, but hold on, because once this redemption is fulfilled, there will be a shift in your life that you've been praying for and you've been asking for. So very curious how that lands. So Tanya, if you don't mind, hopefully I'll be able to see it as it comes up. When I look through the comments, I just automatically goes to the most recent comment. So I may or may not see it, but I'll try to go back and look at it. I'm very curious if that lands with you, if that makes sense to you. If so, please let me know. Be happy to, to take a look at that. Okay, let's see. Here is our next dream. Marcia Livingston. The dream, I'm sleeping exhaustedly. My phone, which I had off, starts communicating familiar voices. I turn it off, go back to sleep. Then menacing voices come through my phone. Angry, I grab and wake up. Okay, so very interesting. So you're exhausted, sleeping, and you turned off your phone. But in this dream, your phone, which was supposed to be off, you start hearing familiar voices, which causes you to wake up, turn it off, you go back to sleep. And then it's not good voices. It's actually menacing voices. And then you also have to turn it off. Here's the thing about a phone. It can mean a lot of different things depending on what's going on. But hearing voices through a phone, this is talking about spiritual communication, wireless communication, spiritual communication. So you're recognizing the prophetic gift that you have. And if you don't pay attention to the things that God is showing you, it actually leaves open a door for the enemy to use the prophetic gifting that God gave you. And which will create, discomfort. I don't know what the right word is, but it's going to feel that menacing thing. So let me say that in another way that might be a little bit more helpful. You have a prophetic gifting, and God is trying to grab your attention. He's trying to speak to you. The enemy is also trying to speak to you and trying to menace you, to intimidate you. Don't pay attention to what the enemy is doing, but realize that even though it feels like an interruption, even though it feels like you're overwhelmed, when God speaks, there is a redemptive thing that he's doing in it. And so pay attention to his voice. Listen to his voice. Now, in the dream, it does not say, if you listen to God's voice, you won't hear the enemy's voice. It's saying they're both using this spiritual communication to talk to you. But don't ignore it all because of the negative. Pay attention to what God is saying because he is speaking to you. You have a prophetic gifting. The Lord has been speaking to you for more years than what you realize in a lot of different ways. Even as a young child, he was speaking to you, and you've been taught how to ignore his voice, especially in your dreams. But that is starting to wake up. Don't be too tired to pay attention to what he's saying, to press in, to hear the messages, because he has things to say. And even though the enemy also uses that method, you don't have to pay attention to the enemy. So I would, as an application to that, one of the things you could do is just pray and ask the Lord to only let you hear and see the things that he wants you to hear and see, and to remove any access that the enemy has to the prophetic gifting that he's given you. Now, it's not that the enemy has access to the prophetic gifting, but our prophetic gifting is kind of like an antenna. It goes up there and it just picks up airwaves, and whatever happens to be in the airwaves, it picks up. And so when something is communicating in the area, in the airwaves that we're attuned to, we're going to pick up that information, whether it's God or whether that's the enemy. And we can't completely not hear the enemy in this world. It's like asking that we would never be tempted. There are temptations that are coming out of our own flesh because of our own desires, but there are temptations that are actually the enemy speaking temptation to us. And then there's temptations because of the atmosphere of the world that we live in. You can't completely get rid of those, but you can choose to not pay attention to them and to not give them room in your life. And so when the enemy speaks, you can't completely stop him from speaking, but you can choose to not give him attention and not give him room in your life. And as you do that, you'll find yourself responding to the Lord a lot more. You'll hear him more clearly, and you'll actually hear the enemy less clearly. So that was a fun little thing to grab hold of. Navigating life with God. So you put this in. I arrived at a school in Namibia, prayed against poverty. Then came a black Jaguar through gate. It smelt me. I heard territorial. Okay. So, One, before we really get into the dream interpretation, but this will make sense once we get into the dream interpretation, John Paul Jackson's book, The Needless Casualties of War, would be a very helpful resource. If you are not already familiar with that, please familiarize yourself with that. Basically, what this dream is saying is that there's been some things that you've been learning about intercession and dealing with poverty, and you've gotten the attention of the enemy. And so that's what the dream means. The black Jaguar that's coming through the gate that smelt you, discerned that you were there. So my question then, and just thinking through that there's nothing, it doesn't say that the Jaguar was able to do anything, just says that it recognized you, but the Lord can protect you. When we're praying, we want to make sure that we're praying in the right way, in a way that we stay within the Lord's protection. There is a right and a wrong way to access those realms, and a right and a wrong way to deal with territorial spirits, and to deal with spirits that are affecting whole regions and areas, like a spirit of poverty in Africa, in Namibia, which is an African country down near South Africa, I mean. So there's a right and a wrong way to deal with that. And as long as you're dealing with it in the right way, then you have protection. But if you're dealing with it in the wrong way, you actually open yourself up to attack, which that's the whole point of needless casualties of war. Now, there's nothing in this dream that says that you've opened yourself up to attack. So I'm not assuming that you are. But if you're not familiar with what is being taught in needless casualties of war, I highly recommend getting familiar with it. You can get the book, or you can go to our Dreams and Mysteries YouTube channel, which we have a whole nother YouTube channel that has all the Dreams and Mysteries TV shows that we put out. They're all available on that YouTube channel. And one of them, John Paul talks about the mystery of needless casualties. And you can look that up and find that and watch it. It's 25 minutes. It'll give you the basic concepts. The book will give you a lot more details, a lot more stories, a lot more testimonies. So you'll get a lot more out of it if you have the time, but at least that'll get you a good start if you're not familiar. And for anybody else that happens to be listening, it's a really helpful teaching. I found it extremely helpful for myself, but also as I've been ministering and counseling other people. Okay. Isa is asking, what do eyebrows mean? My worship pastor prayed for my eyebrows at the altar. Eyebrows, that's a good question. So they're connected to the eyes, which means it's something about your sight, something about what you see. But eyebrows also, it's a major feature of our face. So how people perceive us, how people perceive what it is that we're seeing. And actually that kind of landed well, how people perceive what it is that we're seeing. And so maybe there's something that the Lord is dealing with in that arena I mean, it doesn't say there's not enough there. I mean, if let's say you were getting your eyebrows threaded, like that would, talk about, cleaning it up, streamlining, getting rid of extra stuff that's not necessary, making it more presentable, making it more attractive. If you're putting on some makeup to color the eyebrows, to make them more distinct or make them more prominent. Now, then again, that's talking, but none of that is in this dream. So you got to be careful. You don't want to add that stuff in. But there's something about what people see when they first look at you, but related to the eyes. So it's not just what they see about you, but what they see about what you see. And so there's something in the presentation of what you see that the Lord is highlighting. And if it was the worship pastor praying for you, it is probably going to be released through worship. And that's where it's going to come from. So that's interesting. Okay, let's see. B. I was at my grandmother's. A tall guy with tan skin and white hair gave me something I needed. He liked me and looked like waiting for me to say yes to him. He was living in the house next door. So you're at your grandmother's house. So a lot of times a grandparent's house will represent some type of a family inheritance or a spiritual inheritance. Um, yeah, and that seems to fit in this one. Somebody that's living next door is something that's related to the spiritual inheritance. White hair, the Bible talks about that as being a sign of wisdom. So there's some type of wisdom. It seems like there's some wisdom from a previous generation, and it's in your family line. It's in your spiritual inheritance, but there's wisdom from a previous generation that's going to give you what you need, and you need to accept it to be able to access it. So there's something about your accepting it that's really important. So begin to ask the Lord for wisdom, and begin to ask the Lord for eyes to see when wisdom is being given to you, because there's some kind of wisdom that's being offered to you, and it's something that you need. He gave you something I needed. That's what you said in the dream. So wisdom is offering you, is giving you something that you need, and recognize it. But it's coming from a previous generation, and it's part of your spiritual inheritance, which is why you were at your grandmother's house. That's fun. Okay, EL. I see myself arrive in a gray Range Rover with your mom to a butcher shop. Then you're buying meat inside, but realize the car's stolen. So you panic. And I see the old, weak looking butcher put on a tuxedo with short sleeves, shorter than other. Okay. This sounds like it is part of a dream and not the whole dream. And just with the way comments work in the system that I'm using, I don't see how they all come together. They don't. I'm not seeing the next one in this comment. So without the whole dream, there's there's pieces that are not there, and being able to understand it. But you've got a basic thing. One, butcher, place meat. It can talk about some more mature kind of understanding that's needed, and a vehicle. So if you're coming in a vehicle and the vehicle gets stolen, it could be talking about something that you're doing or something that you're called to. Not called to, because you're already in it, so you can't say called to. So I catch myself, because sometimes it's so much easy. It's so easy just to use kind of our normal Christian language to explain things, but you want to be very careful that the language you use to explain a dream is supported by the dream. So constantly asking, well, where's that in the dream? So as I'm letting words come out of my mouth, because I'm trying to find a way to keep this engaging and help you guys to come into my thought process. So I'm not just interpreting dreams, but I'm actually training on interpreting dreams. I'm constantly checking myself while I'm talking if I'm saying something about the dream. Well, does that fit the dream? Does it? And that didn't fit the dream when I said calling. So you can't say that, because you're already in it. It's what got you to where you're going. So the thing that got you to where you're going, there's something that stole it. So the thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. So it seems like there's some kind of an attack that's going to come, that's going to remove something that you have used in the past to get you to where you're at, where you're learning. And like I said, it feels like there's something else in this dream, and I don't know what it is. It feels like this is only a part of the dream, and without the rest of it, it's going to kind of leave it hanging. So I know that that's only a piece of this. Hopefully that piece is enough that it will help you get to where you need to go. Yeah. So I will leave that there. Esther, it's good to see you on again. Esther's been on these live dreams, oh man, for years. I think maybe almost since we started doing them. So yeah, good to see your name again. So I've been pregnant in my dream, but suddenly I realized that I haven't felt any kicking for a while. My tummy doesn't look big anymore. And I realized I've forgotten about my pregnancy. Okay, so this is a common dream. This is one of those that we see this one or hear about this one a lot. Here's a couple things that are going on. Pregnancy in a dream is something that's being developed inside of you, something that's being birthed. So it's, or something that needs to be birthed or should be birthed, but it's something that's developing. And that's the key. The pregnancy itself is the developing. The delivery would be its birth. It's being birthed. It's being brought into place. And so where you're at in the pregnancy will tell you about the development. So this is something that has been being developed inside of you. Maybe it is a focus. Maybe it's a revelation. Maybe it's a ministry. It's a passion. Maybe it was a potential thing that you could do. So something that had been being developed inside of you. And you've actually forgotten about it. It's actually gone away. It's no longer there. It no longer has the life that it used to have. And you're starting to recognize, man, I used to really be developing that, and it really had some life on it. But now I'm not feeling any life on it at all. And that difference, that's what it is that you're experiencing. You used to be pregnant. This thing used to be growing, but it's no longer there. And it's almost like that feeling of you don't realize that it was gotten rid of, but you start to recognize that it's not there because it's not there when you remember it. And so that kind of dynamic, it's going to happen in some arena. Pregnancies can mean so many different things. It could be it could be a new ministry, so a way of doing things. It could be something that we've been learning, something we've been growing. It could be, like somebody learning how to pray for the sick. That could be a pregnancy, because they're going to be birthing a ministry where they start praying for the sick, or they start ministering to the sick, or desire to help single moms, or somebody desire to help somebody in a situation, poverty, orphans. It could also be a new business that's getting birthed. Maybe it's an idea or an invention that is being developed. It gets developed internally before it gets produced externally. And that's the whole point of pregnancy and what that would represent. So that would be an important one to pay attention to whenever you have dreams about being pregnant. Recognizing that. Now, here's a couple things, because I can almost feel maybe a little bit of concern on this dream. Not on the dream itself, but like you might have some concern, like, well, is everything okay? Something that's important is in the dream, there's nothing that you did that got rid of it. You're just recognizing that it's not there anymore. So it's something that was being developed inside of you, but that season is over and it's no longer there. It doesn't say that you lost it. It doesn't say that you gave it up, that you got rid of it, or any of that. So don't let yourself beat yourself up. There's nothing in the dream. Now ask the Lord, is there something that I've let go of that you are doing that I'm supposed to pick back up? It's worth asking, but unless he shows you, don't assume that there is. You must assume that there's not, because he hasn't told you that there is. So don't let condemnation get involved. Condemnation. Well, I messed it up. That's why the baby's gone. I messed it up. That's not in the dream, so you don't want to go there. That would actually be condemnation. Now, if you have other dreams or other things that God is showing you that then begin to point in that direction, then you would respond to those, but not from this dream. Hopefully that makes sense. I know, man, there's so many dreams that we did not get to, and I apologize for that. There's only so much time, but hopefully the dreams that we did get to, we were able to give you something that was helpful, able to teach you a little bit about the process of dream interpretation and how to think about dreams. like I said at the beginning, if you want to grow some more, our online classroom, we've got a monthly subscription that you guys can do that will give you access to Understanding Dreams and Visions and the Advanced Workshop in Dreams and Visions. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can get our all access subscription, and that'll also include the Dream Interpretation Intensive and a bunch of other courses. We've got hundreds of hours of training that's available on our online classroom, and we can really help you to grow in the things of the Spirit. So if you want to grow, that is one of the resources that's available for you. If you want to do it in community and you want to be with other people that are learning at the same time, the Streams Academy is a great resource for you to be able to do that. You can take a look. You'll find both of those on our website at streamsministries.com. And if this has been helpful, this has been a blessing for you, please consider being a partner with Streams Ministries and helping us financially, because we're able to do these kinds of videos where we're getting on and interpreting dreams live, praying for you live, providing all these free resources, like the thousands of hours, I think, that are on YouTube. I know there's a lot of videos there. And it's because of those people that have supported us financially. So if that's you, thank you. If it's not you, maybe the Lord would invite you to help to partner with us so that we can continue to get this out there and continue to get more resources available to people. So until next time, the Lord bless you. Remember, on the first weekend of the month, first week of the month, our Wednesday, we have Live at 5 prayer. And we will have people that will get on. They will pray for any prayer requests that you have. So make sure that you keep an eye on that. And then on the third Wednesdays, we do live dream interpretation. So we'll be back to interpret some more dreams. And until then, keep dreaming. I look forward to seeing you again. The Lord bless you. Take care.